Hey guys, Brendan Productions here, and welcome to Learning How to Program with Java, Part 21. That's 21. A little Spanish going your way. In the two previous tutorials, I actually taught you how to use a mouse listener and a mouse motion listener in order to detect mouse movement and clicks inside of a Java applet. However, in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to use a key listener in order to detect keystrokes in a Java applet or JFrame application. So just as the last couple tutorials, the first thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to make our application an applet. So this essentially means that it runs in a little frame and it can run inside of a web browser. So I've imported java.applet.applet, and now I'm actually going to make this class a subclass of applet by making it extends applet. So what we're going to do in this tutorial in order to demonstrate how a key listener works is we are actually going to set up a little rectangle, and it's going to spawn in the top right or top left corner of the screen, and then when you use the arrow keys to essentially move this rectangle across the screen. So what I'm going to first do is create a private rectangle. And this is going to be the rectangle that we move across the screen. And so we're just going to be keeping track of that rectangle because we need to keep track of its coordinates in order to actually draw it. So now to actually set up the applet, we're going to create the paint method, which takes in a graphics. So as I've stated, this paint method is like the main method. It runs every time the applet actually needs to run. So inside the paint method, we're actually going to create a instance of graphics 2D from this graphics object. So we're just going to convert this graphics object into a graphics 2D object, and then we're going to actually draw the rectangle onto the screen. Okay, so and when we paint, we're also going to set the applet size to 500 by 500. Which is the size we've been using in all these tutorials. Alright, so we've got a class that extends an applet, and we're also going to give it a init method, initialization method, so that runs before the paint method. And in this we're going to say rect equals new rectangle and give it a position of 0, 0 and a size of 50 by 50. Alright, so jumping right into the tutorial here. So every time this paint method is actually called, we're just going to set the size, create a graphics 2D object, and then draw the rectangle onto the screen. So, and then we create a new rectangle at 0, 0, and it's 50 by 50. So this is going to be relatively easy. Now, what we need to do now in order to allow this to actually detect the keys is we need to make a key listener class. But since we do not want to make a whole new class just to hold this key listener, we're going to make this class itself implement a key listener. So we're going to type implements key listener right on the top line here. I entered it down for organization purposes, but you really don't have to. And then Eclipse is going to automatically want to add these three methods. We've got the key pressed, the key released, and the key typed methods. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change all of these event parameters to E instead of arg0 because they're much easier to access if they're E. Alright, so what we want to happen is when the key, when the right arrow key is pressed, we want the rectangle to move over one place. When the left arrow key is pressed, we want the rectangle to move to the left one space, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to first detect if there's a key pressed. So we could say if e.getKeyCode equals key event dot, and so what happens is when there's a key pressed, it actually sends out a key code. And this key code signifies what key is actually being pressed. So each individual key on your keyboard has a key code. And each key code is stored in the key event class. So in order to access them, we just type key event dot, and then we have access to every key on the keyboard. So what we need to do in order to detect if it's the right arrow key is we're actually going to type in the key VK up. or we're doing right arrow key, my bad. So I'm pretty sure that this stands for virtual keyboard right, but I don't know exactly what VK stands for, but it's the one you need to use. So if the button being pressed is the virtual keyboard's right button, then we are going to do something. However, if it is not that, but the key code is key event.vk left, so that would be the left arrow key, then we're going to move the rectangle right, or left rather, and we're just going to do the same thing for up and down. Key event.vk up. That is not how you spell up. Don't take spelling lessons from a programmer. They do not know how to spell. Key event.vk. Unless you're on Omegle, then everyone has perfect grammar. So what we've got here is every time a key is pressed, it's going to send out a key code, and then this series of statements is actually going to test if it is actually equal to each arrow key. So if it is arrow key right, then what we're going to do is we're going to say rect.setLocation, and then we want to move its x coordinate over by 2, and we want to leave its y coordinate the same. Now if it's left, then we're going to move it to the left by 2, so we're going to subtract 2 from the left coordinate, or x coordinate, and we're going to leave the y coordinate the same. If it's up, then we are going to keep the x coordinate the same, but decrease the y coordinate by 2. And if it's down, then we're going to leave the x coordinate the same and increase the y coordinate by 2. So, what we've got here is a fairly simple system that moves the rectangle across the screen. So the final thing that we need to do is, in our init method here, we actually need to tell the applet to use itself as a key listener. So we're just going to say this.add key listener and tell it to use itself. And in order to refer to itself in Java, you just need to type in this. So let's go ahead and run this applet, and as you notice, it draws the box in the appropriate place, but when we press the right, left, and up, down arrow keys, it actually does not move. Now this was on purpose. I actually did this to teach you about a different little thing inside this tutorial called the Repaint method. So what we need to do is every time we move the box, we actually need to repaint it. But we don't want to actually go ahead and clear the screen and then individually draw the rectangle using a global graphics variable. Instead, what we want to do is simply clear the screen and then recall this paint method. Well, Java has that built in for us, and it's called repaint. Repaint. So if you actually call the command repaint, it's going to clear the screen and then run the paint method. So every time there's a key pressed, we're just going to repaint the screen. So as we can see here, if I go ahead and press the G key, nothing happens, or any of these keys. We do get a little bit of flashing occasionally if we press them fast enough, because it's clearing the screen, but that's really okay. So what we're going to go ahead and do is press the arrow keys now. So I'm pressing the right arrow key, and it's actually moving this guy over a little bit. Pressing the down arrow key, left arrow key, right arrow key, and I'm actually holding the buttons down. So this key press method actually detects if you hold the buttons down as well. So there we go. Now the only problem with this system is we can't actually get the box to move diagonally. And that's because it only detects one key at once, which in most games is called ghosting. So you actually are pressing so many keys at once that it doesn't detect them all. So our application actually has that little problem. So what we can do is we can actually just remove these else statements here. So it's not only checking for one key, it's checking for all the keys. So now if we hold the bottom or the down and the right arrow keys, it still doesn't move diagonally. Okay. Oh, okay. So I get it. So the key pressed method actually only goes when there's one key pressed. So in order to handle multiple key inputs at one time, what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to create an array list that holds all of the keys, and then every time there is a key pressed, we are going to add it to the array list, and every time there is a key pressed, we're going to remove it from the array list. So let's go ahead and execute this plan right now. So we're going to create a private array list of key events. Yeah, and we're going to call it keys down equal, and in the initialization here, we're actually going to say keys down equals new array list. So we're instantializing this variable, and it holds key events, and it accepts no parameters in its constructor. So we're just going to go ahead and import it there. So now every time there's a key pressed, we're actually going to say if keys down dot contains E. So if keys down does not contain the current key, which we added in by this exclamation point here, so if it does not detect the current key that's being pressed, then what we're going to do is we're actually going to say keys down dot add, and we're going to add E to it. And then every time a key is released, we can actually remove it from the variables or the array list. So we can say keys down dot remove, and then we're going to remove E. Now, the only problem with this is each time we press and release a key, it's going to give us a actually a different key event object. So what we can do is we can actually prevent this by instead having an array list of integers. So each key code is an integer. So when we actually press the button down, instead of adding the key event to the array list, we're going to actually add the integer, the key code. So e.getKeyCode. So if it doesn't contain e.keyCode, then we're going to add the integer e.keyCode. Now the only problem is this array list actually has a higher level class called integer. Usually when you're making integers, we call int. However, since this is holding integer and it cannot hold int variables, which are primitive variable types, we need to actually wrap the variable. So in order to do this, we're just going to create a new integer and send an e.getKeyCode. Okay, so now keys down is also going to remove e.getKeyCode. We're just gonna new integer, right? I think that'll work. So now every time a I'm sorry. So every time a key is pressed, it adds it to the array, and a key is removed, it actually removes it from the array. So let's go ahead and test this by every time a key is pressed, and it's going to be if key or e.getKeyCode is key event.vkv. So if I'm pressing the V on the keyboard, I'm just going to print out the contents of keys down. Or we need to start a loop here. So for each integer I in keys down, we are going to system.out.println I. So let's go ahead and test this out. We're just going to run the application, and we're going to actually press a bunch of arrows. And as we know, it doesn't move the box because we actually are not using the the repaint method. So now if we hold down the down arrow and we actually press V on the keyboard, it prints out 40 and 86. So it works. One of these keys is the V key, and one of the keys is the down arrow key. So now if I press the right arrow key and press V, it prints out 39 and 86. So we've just eliminated 40 as being the V key. So 86 is the actual V key. So let's go ahead and go back into our program and make sure it doesn't add the V key to the array. So if it doesn't contain the current key code and e.getKeyCode is not equal to, I think it was 86, wasn't it? And it's going to add it there. So if we press the down arrow key and press V, it only displays 40. So let's go ahead and press multiple arrow keys at once. Now I'm going to be pressing left, down, and right, and press V. and it displays 37, 40, and 39. So now if I smash all 4 button keys down with my fist, and go ahead and press V, I'm not. I actually didn't press all 4. My fist is too tiny. So now if we press V, I'm getting 39, 38, 37, and 40. So 37, 38, 39, and 40, those are your 4 arrow keys. So now, as you can see, it is actually keeping track of all of the keys that we are currently holding down. So this method actually prevents ghosting. So we're just going to erase the little thing that prints out the current key if you press V, and then we're actually going to do some stuff. So every time a key is pressed, we're going to create a new method. We're not even going to worry about the key typed method, because the key typed method simply it's just like key pressed, but it's kind of ignoring the release, I believe. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new method called moveRectangle, moveRect, and so for each key inside of keys down, we're actually going to move the rectangle accordingly. So we're going to say if keys down dot contains new integer. So this is key event dot vk up. So if it contains vk up, then we're going to want to say rect.setLocation, rect.x, rect.y -2. If it contains new integer, let's just say down now, vk down, then we can go ahead and move it down here, rect.x and rect.y +2. But you know what we're actually going to do is see, what we're doing here is we're actually doing the same thing that we did before. We are what if it contains the up key, we're ignoring all the other keys with these else if statements. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new x variable and a new y variable, and so these are going to be the new location of the actual rectangle. So we're going to say x equal to rect.x, and we're going to say y equal to rect.y. So we're just going to delete this code block that we've been working on. So we're going to say if keys down dot contains key event dot vk up, then rect.y is actually going to be subtracted by 2. So if it contains key event dot vk down, then we're going to actually add 2 to y. So as you can see, if you're holding down the up key and the down key at once, the actual player is not going to move. So if keys down dot, which makes sense, key event dot vk left, then we're going to say x plus or minus equals 2. So we're subtracting 2 from x. And if keys down dot contains key event dot vk right, then we're going to say x plus equals 2. And then at the end, we're just going to say rect.setLocation xy. So now every time a key is pressed, we're just going to go ahead and call the moved rect here, and let's go ahead and test this baby out. So we're just going to go ahead and we also, when we move the rect, we're also going to have to repaint. My bad, forgot about that. So we're just going to go ahead and run this. And as you can see here, when I press the down arrow, it has the same behavior as previously. So I press down, it moves down. I hold up, it moves up. Right, it moves right. Left, it moves left. But now, if I hold down and right, it actually moves diagonally across the screen. So you can simply adjust the amount of keys that are being tracked at once by creating an array and holding all the keys that are currently down. So now we can test it out by holding down all the arrow keys at once, and as you can see, the screen is constantly flashing because we're constantly repainting, but the block itself is not actually moving. Now, how do you solve this flashing problem? That's actually using double buffering you're going to want to use. So what you're doing is you're basically creating an image off the screen and then putting it on the screen, which reduces a step, but I actually went over that in my How to Create a Java Platform Game Part 2. So if you haven't seen that and you want to know how to solve this flashing problem, go ahead and check out that video. But for now, these are the basics on how to use a key listener. So just remember that whenever you're detecting a key, use the key event key code that starts with a VK, standing for maybe virtual keyboard. If it doesn't stand for virtual keyboard, let's make up something cool. How about... I don't even... What cool words start with V? Vehicle collision with a K. So if it doesn't stand for virtual keyboard, it must stand for vehicle collision. Makes sense. With a K. Because that's how we roll. Anyway, how we roll vehicles. I'm on a roll. Let's hope this doesn't go crashing. Oh man. That really went downhill. Anyway, guys. Talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Hopefully this helps you out. I know it helped me out a lot when I first learned it. Being able to use keys on the keyboard is kind of important if you're making something like a game. But please remember to rate, comment, subscribe, and like this tutorial. Yeah, so thanks a lot for watching, guys, and have a great day. See you guys. Peace.